Okay, well, hi everybody. Now here we are, week 2. Okay, and remember last week we talked about immigration. Right, that was our focus on our policy, and then we had you do a little research paper, get a little background on World War I, World War II, or civil rights movement, women's movement, that sort of thing. This week we get a little more specific. Now we're looking at reform, or what we think of as what's known historically as the progressive era. Okay, so what goes on and what we find in American history during this time is this influx of immigrants is really starting to have Americans kind of rethink how we want to treat people, rethink how we want our cities to look, rethink how we think business should be run. Okay, there's a lot of inconsistencies there that seem to be in conflict with the American dream. So what we do is we have a group of people, and there's lots and lots of these people who say, America's better than this. We've got to make some improvements. We've got to make some changes. We've got to look more at what today we would consider human rights or economic rights, if you will. We didn't talk about them in those terms then, but that's what they would be looking at. So this notion of, here's the turn of the century. We've got this influx of people coming in. We're looking at the quality of life, but it's not just about immigrants. So keep this in mind. This is the average citizen now, because again, we talk about immigrants all the time, but there's a whole lot of people who live in the cities who aren't immigrants. We could get into that discussion, but who are not new immigrants? How about if we use that term, okay? And they've been around a long time, and they're part of the society, and that society's changing too. And they're looking around going, wait a minute, how come I'm not going to benefit from this? How can I benefit from this? Okay? So we want to look at this progressive era and look at the things that get changed, right? And look at things we try to reform or make better. That's the idea of progressivism, progress, to make things better. And we're looking at workplace conditions. We have a little thing, and if you go in the materials this week, the triangle shirtwaist fire and the triangle fire, there's a link you can go in there that explains some of the things in there. It looks at the working conditions that were going on there. And working conditions in general in the factories were pretty poor, right? We talk about child labor, and we talk about the way women aren't given the right to vote yet, right, or being allowed to vote. We're talking about just the way political machines or the corruption in local politics is going on. And so there's a lot of different people who enter into the progressive movement to say we can make things better, we can do better as Americans. And so you're asked to look at one of those in our discussion, so we can write a paragraph about one of those people. Some of them, Teddy Roosevelt, one of the great progressive, of the era, who become president, president of the United States, who big backing. And when the president is backing things have a tendency to get done. You have Thomas Nast, who's a cartoonist, who offers up some satire on some of the things there, some of the problems in America that maybe we need to address or maybe we need to look at. You had Upton Sinclair, a novelist who wrote The Jungle, which looked at the meatpacking industry in Chicago and some of the things in the plight of immigrants. You have terms like muckrakers. You want to become familiar with that. You had Elizabeth Cady. I'm drawing a blank as to the name. I wanted to say Elizabeth Cady Stanton, but that was before. Oh, Chapman, right? Katie Chapman, during this time giving women, pushing for the women's era. W.E.B. Du Bois, who's going to set up the NAACP. So we're dealing with all of these issues all at once, and it's really kind of a confluence of so many different issues kind of hitting all at once. And, it's kind of like the problems of America are exposed, or the shortcomings, or some of the flaws are exposed. So the issue becomes, what can we do about it? What should we do about it? And I think with the progressives, they kind of bring to light this notion of what should we do about it? And then they go to the public and say, do you want to do something about it? All right, so look at that and take a peek at what do Americans decide they want to do about these issues that the progressives are looking at. So get comfortable with what the progressives are, who the progressives are, what the progressive era is all about, and what are the benefits, what are the changes and the different things that came out of the progressive movement. Okay, and don't forget there's a quiz this week. Week 2, there's a quiz, all right? And if you have any questions, never hesitate to contact me. I'm always here to help you. Okay, have a good week. Bye now.